Hello, everyone, and welcome to MDEV 2025. My name is Tucker Hazel, and these are the creator conversations that we're doing with the lovely guests here at MDEV. And today, I'm joined by Gregory from ID at Xbox. They've got a cool booth and socks out there in the main area. And today, we're just going to be talking a little bit about what ID at Xbox is, why you're here at the event of MDEV, and what kind of the purpose of MDEV is. So first, I want to let people know what ID at Xbox actually is and who you are and how you're involved.
Yeah, so my name's Glenn. I've been in Xbox for 17 years, which is forever, I guess now. But so ID at Xbox is essentially it's our independent publishing program. So if you think about the games that come to Xbox, they come generally in about three different categories. We have first party, which is the games that are produced by studios that are part of Xbox. So that's you think of Xbox Game Studios and now Bethesda and Activision, Blizzard. And then you have on the third party side, which is other companies publishing their game on an Xbox. You have sort of your traditional publishers who've been around for a while and publish on disc and retail and that kind of thing. So you think of like the EAs and those kind of Ubisoft, those kind of companies. And then historically, going way back to original console days, it was always very difficult for other companies, independent companies that weren't part of these very large traditional gaming companies to publish on consoles. Sure,
it was only retail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was. So back in the 360 days, we had XBLA, Xbox Live Arcade, which was a way for independent publishers to begin publishing on console. That was actually kind of the first path.
That's great.
And then over the years, that evolved into ID at Xbox. Started with the Xbox One launch and continues through today. And it's essentially the path for independent publishers, but independent is a really interesting term these days with a lot of different definitions. It's like some people argue, if you have investors from Tencent or whatever, you're not independent. Well,
is it team size? Is it budget?
Or is it the game? Is it there's some games that are made by very large companies that feel indie, but so ID at Xbox, the program is a way for people to come onto Xbox, but it includes very, very large companies who just publish through that program because it's a better sort of, business fit for them, and includes very, very small, single person working in their basement. So anyway, my team, we handle ID at Xbox and independent gaming support, marketing support through Xbox. And so we've kind of fudged the definition a little bit. We handle anything that looks and feels independent, anything that can take advantage of our support as people who kind of work with independent developers. And we do have, again, some very, very large games, very, very large companies that publish through the program. And so, we do have ways of working with them that are special to their needs and, optimizing for their content. And then we have other parts of our program that are really focused on helping, I hate to use the word truly independent, but but really like indies, like small companies that are kind of new to the space, are looking for opportunities and don't have big marketing budgets or that kind of thing. And so we work with them. There's the dev support side of ID at Xbox, which is onboarding them onto the program, helping them get through our processes, help them actually publish on the program. We have some, business support side. We do some funding through things like the Developer Acceleration Program, which is a fantastic program run by a guy named James Lewis, who is absolutely the nicest guy in the video game industry.
Sure.
And that program is designed to help people who traditionally haven't published much on console. Either people or from their location or the kind of content they're producing, just bringing new and different kind of voices and stories to the console.
Awesome.
And by the console, I mean Xbox, Xbox on PC, our entire ecosystem that we have these days.
Yeah.
And then on the marketing side, my team, essentially we work with devs to make the processes seamless as possible when they're ready to launch their game, and then to provide them as much support as we can, help people find their games, help them take advantage of opportunities, everything from our showcases to our discounting programs, things like that.
Yeah. Well, one thing I know about you, because you were telling me this the other day, is that you transitioned from working with bigger teams, first party at Microsoft, to ID at Xbox and supporting the smaller side of the industry. And I'm curious what for you was that moment to make that transition. When did you sort of realize that, you'd spent X amount of years working with the big teams, let's work a little bit with the different side of the industry? What is sort of the energy that encouraged you to support a different side of Xbox and the games industry?
Yeah, I think back in the 360 days, I was working on first party a lot of Kinect games, Kinect Star Wars, that kind of thing, and then I went over to some of the Xbox One launch games like Rise and one that was canceled called Scalebound.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were kind of I was always a fan of what was happening in the XBLA space with the kind of emerging indie scene at the time. Casual Crashers, Limbo, those kind of games. Just absolutely love those. And so when Chris Charla got on stage at Gamescom, I think this was, 2014, 13. Excuse me. And he kind of started talking about ID at Xbox. He announced it. I talked to him afterwards, and I was like, oh, that's a really interesting kind of evolution of what we were doing with the Xbox Live Arcade, because it was really. Xbox Live Arcade was fantastic, but it was also a pretty limited program. It was hard to get into it, and the point of ID at Xbox was, let's take the great things from that and open it up and make it so that the developers have more of the control and more of the access. And there was an opportunity. There was nobody kind of doing marketing for ID at Xbox at the time, and so there was an opportunity to kind of come over and define what that side of the business would be. Sure. And we went from 1 game a month to 2 games a month to 4 games a month to, we have, I don't know, 700 or 800 games a year now that go through the program, including some very large games. So it went from, 20% of my time to 50% of my time to 100% of my time to now we have a team, including our, on the marketing side, including our vendors and our support people. It's around, depending on how you count, 12 to 15 people, something like that. So,
yeah.
Well,
one thing I also know about you and your role here at MDEV is that you gave a talk to the people of MDEV, and I'm curious what that talk was about and why you chose to come here and give a speech to the people.
Yeah. On the second part of that, the interesting thing is I was having a conversation with some of my colleagues the other day. We're based in Redmond, a lot of us, but we have people in LA, we have people in London, people all over the world. And we just sort of, we're talking about all the different, we do a lot of conferences, we go around and meet a lot of people, we do a lot of talks, and we were kind of talking about the ones that we'd been to in the past few years, and we were like, we spend more time in Poland than we do in the central part of the United States. We spend more time in Singapore. Not that in Poland and Singapore are great, I don't mean that, it's just like, it's odd that we are throughout the world so much, and then, there's this vast amount of the United States that we don't spend a lot of time with, and there's some historical reasons. There's some, I think the big conferences. We've got Gamescom in Germany. You've got Tokyo Game Show. You've got GDC in San Francisco. We tend to gravitate towards those kind of things and towards where there's a lot of the industry has been kind of really active over the past decade or so. And so we were talking to some of the people at Midwest Games about what's going on in the Midwest, and we were like, we really need to spend more time in the Midwest. There's obviously some studios here like Raven, but from the indie gaming space, we just haven't had as much visibility, as much face time, and so I thought this would be a good opportunity to come out and see what's happening, meet some people. As far as the talk, we do a bunch of different talks. The one I was giving was, from talking to people when I first got here yesterday, I realized there were a lot of students, a lot of people who are kind of aspiring to the industry. So I thought it would be useful to give a talk that was really like, how do you market games? It started from the idea of like, if you took a marketing 101 class in college, you're going to learn about these basic things. How do you write a marketing plan? How do you do research? What's the marketing funnel? And so I took those kind of basic marketing theories and said, okay, how does that apply to independent games? And so that's the basis of my talk. But then, because on Microsoft, I also do the whole fight, what's Xbox strategy? What are we doing these days? We're talking a lot these days about every device is an Xbox. What does that mean if you're making a game? How can you access additional customers through that kind of program that we have? Xbox Play Anywhere is the name of the program, and we're focusing a lot on that. Obviously, Game Pass is very important to us, but then our traditional console business, I think, is as interesting and exciting as ever, and that's something that we're still very focused on. So I talk about like all the different things that we're trying to do, and then how that creates opportunities for independent devs in addition to the whole marketing 101 thing.
Yeah, a big part of the energy that I've heard from a lot of people here at MDEV is how the industry is evolving to be more about accessibility in terms of where people play and meeting them where they play. And I honestly do think that Xbox and you guys at your team are really making great strides to foreground that as a part of the strategy. And you telling all the people here that are the indie devs, the students, that is something that they should be thinking about, not just focusing on one platform, but focusing on where people could play their game. That kind of variety, I think, is a core part of the current modern games industry that we're still adapting to. And it's cool to see such a big force like Microsoft and Xbox, like really putting a full force, like, no, this is how the industry is going, so let's go where the river's flowing.
Yeah, no, it's great to hear you say that. I think it's it is something that I think people who are used to the traditional console business, which is exclusive sell consoles, and that's what you do. It's a little hard for us to get our head around, and by us I mean sometimes a lot of internal people at Microsoft, and then obviously some of our customers who are like all about the actual thing that sits under the TV, and but we still love that business. I'm a console gamer. I have been since the PlayStation 1. It's like that's what I do. I love sitting on the couch playing with it. But there is something pretty magical about like the evolution of the way people access content these days is the fact that there's so many devices just and on the one hand, it's a little bit of a threat because someone's sitting there on TikTok while they're watching TV while they're also playing a game, and you're trying to get attention. But if you think about like if I'm going to pick up a game like I just finished Keeper, the Double Fine game where you play as a lighthouse, which is crazy art project game thing, is totally amazing. But the great thing is like I can start that on my console with my big TV and the great kind of living room experience. And then, my kid comes in and he wants to play, he's really into City Skylines now, so he wants to play that. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I give him the console, and then I go to my PC downstairs, and so I pick up the game, and it's just right there. I don't have to buy it again. It picks up my progress, picks up my achievements. I just keep playing, and then it's dark and cold downstairs, so I go, I'll sit in bed with my Rogue Ally X and just I can just pick up, and that kind of experience. If you think about like how you watch movies or how you access your email or whatever, like everything is just with you now, and there's the idea that you would have to create a different account and create a different kind of environment, based on the device you're on almost any other medium would not make sense. If you had to have 4 different Netflix subscriptions and rewatch movies from the start on every different device.
Different email account on your phone and your computer, and oh my God, that'd be crazy.
I'm old enough to remember when that was actually a thing, when it was really difficult to so you had your Earthlink email on your computer and you had your work email on your work computer, and and they didn't talk to each other. You couldn't but yeah, I mean, it just I think gaming is going there, and it's not just us. You see, I mean, obviously when you play on your Steam Deck, you're accessing your Steam content. Other people are experimenting with it too, and I think it's just inevitable. But it's not like it's inevitable because it's what customers are gonna expect. Gamers are gonna expect. Like it makes sense in terms of how you access your content. So I think we're looking at it as kind of an opportunity of how do we do that? How do we get to where things are going to be going 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Eventually, cloud is going to be, probably a much bigger part of it. And how do we do it in a way that is still viable and productive for the developers? I think from our point of view is ID at Xbox and the third-party gaming team at Xbox, that's really our focus, to make sure that it's still a viable, successful business, growing business for our partners, that they can still find customers and make money and continue to make games. That's our kind of main focus.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of the philosophy of ID at Xbox and the larger Microsoft and Xbox group, but I'm curious what MDEV in particular, what's the what are you getting out of this? Who are the people that you're meeting? What is kind of the intent of your team being here and being present at a growing conference? MDEV is a much younger conference than most that I know of, and it's also much smaller. This is a very intimate setting here, and I think that's very exciting. But how is that feeling different for you as someone who's been to Singapore and Gamescom and GDC? Yeah. What are you getting out of MDEV in particular, and who are the people you're meeting here?
Yeah, I've been hanging out at the table in between sessions out there, and it's great. I've been meeting a lot of people. There's a lot of students here, which I think is really cool. I guess there's an active game development kind of community among the universities here, which is fantastic. I think meeting a lot of kind of newer people who are newer to the industry and be able to communicate with them about what they're trying to do and how we can help them, and if there's any kind of opportunities to let them know about. I think that's really pretty cool. A lot of it, honestly, is just FaceTime. Like, hey, we're Xbox, we're here. Do you have any questions? A lot of people walk by that table out there and they're like, what is this ID at Xbox thing? And I'm like, well, what do you do? And they're like, oh, I'm an independent game developer. And I'm like, if you're an independent game developer and you don't know what ID at Xbox is, we're not doing our job. Let me explain to you what it is, because if you want to publish on Xbox, this is how you do it. And so a lot of it is just, talk to us, let's explain what the opportunities are. And then for me personally, it's just cool to, there's like a row of games over here. There's, I love going and seeing new games that people are making. And, and some of them are like, oh, okay, I've seen that one before. But then every now and then you get to one and you're like, oh, wow, they're doing something cool that, that 600-person team over at the big AAA developer is not doing. This is like an interesting mechanic that I haven't seen before. So I love doing that kind of thing. And then just being able to meet with all the different. There's a lot of people here that I've met who are in say outsourcing companies or things like that I traditionally don't interact with a whole lot because we generally interface directly with the publisher, the developer. But meeting with them and talking to them really helps me understand what's going on in the industry in this part of the country, which I think is, ultimately helps, when we're talking about a strategy and stuff, just making sure that we're aware of what the trends are is helpful. Yeah. And
the final thing is I'm curious about some of the games that inspire you, games that maybe inspired you to get more involved in games or transition to working with smaller teams, or games that you're playing now or have played recently that are getting you like really excited about the future. Is there anything that jumps out at you? You want to give a shout out?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the first part of that, I mentioned Keeper a second ago. The person who I think was, I can't remember if he's the game director or the designer, but anyway, one of the people behind that game also did a game on XBLA called Stacking.
Yeah. I love that game.
Yeah. It's a weird little game. Like, I think most people haven't heard of it, but then the people who play it, they're like, oh, wow, because it's a...
Shout out to Lee Petty.
it's just a really deep, interesting. It's a weird. It's like what do you call those things? Russian.
The Matryoshka dolls. Yeah,
exactly. And they really weird idea set in sort of I think it's 1920s or something like that.
It's like early silent cinema. You get like intertitles and stuff, and it's about like child labor. What a wild game.
Right. With stacking dolls, and then the mechanic of the stacking dolls plays into the puzzle dynamics of it, it's just so that was one of the games where I loved that whole XBLA era, when we were doing like Summer Arcade and Castle Crashers and all that. And there were a few in that era where I was just like, I had been working on big, traditional retail games. I was with Sierra working on the Crash and Spyro and all that stuff before. I'd been doing that for a while, and I was playing these little games, and I was just like, little comparative to the, Rise or whatever I was working on. And, Limbo is another one where it was just like, Play Dead did Limbo, and then they did Inside. And so when I started working on I Need Xbox, I got to work directly with them. So cool. And they're not a company that spends a lot of time putting themselves out there. They're very quiet and focused on what they do. So being able to actually like interface with the people at that company was like, oh my God. It's like going to meet Kubrick or something. So that I think being able to kind of see how much creativity and how much interesting stuff was being done in the XBLA space really inspired me to want to move into indie gaming, supporting indie gamers, indie developers. As far as what I'm playing now, I mean, I think everybody's played Expedition 33 at this point. If not, they should. It's just a brilliant. It's not one that it uses a lot of traditional mechanics, like it's turn-based combat or whatever. But it's the story and the polish and the style, the setting, the music. Music's incredible. It's just such an incredibly well-crafted game. Like from the opening. The opening frame to the end, the whole thing is just like, oh wow, like it's such an amazing experience. And that's it's a relatively small French team. Obviously, they used outsourcers and stuff, but they, it's got a level of polish that you would normally expect from a very, very large company. And the publisher in that's a company called Kepler, and they've just got some really interesting stuff that they're doing. Blueprints was another one from Raw Fury earlier this year that really broke my brain in a good way. Like it's a roguelike puzzle experience where you can play it. You can go through the experience 50 times and realize that you've only unlocked like 5% of the content. And it's a sort of game where you need a notepad. You don't need, but I think you enjoy the game a lot more if you have a notepad and you're making notes. And you're like, oh, that thing that I saw 2 hours ago, that's where it fits in. Yeah. That's a really interesting game. Yeah. I had fun this summer with Rematch. There's, in terms of stuff that's coming up, I'm a big Hades fan, really excited for Hades 2. I haven't played it yet. It's out on I think, Switch 2 and Steam, but it's I'm really looking forward to that. High on Life is a comedy game that came out a couple years ago, and we worked closely with Squanch on that one, and they have a sequel coming out I think next year. That's their humor is just totally crazy and insane, and so that one I'm really looking forward to.
The breadth of the industry is what's so exciting. You're talking about big games, small games, sports games, puzzle games. That's what I love so much about the games industry, and you guys seem to totally agree. But thank you very much for sitting down with me, talking a little bit about Xbox, about indies, about the industry, and about MDEV here in Madison. So thank you everyone at home for watching, and tune in for more creator conversations from MDEV 2025. Thank you so much, Greg.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, Greg. I'm very close. It's in there.
I've been called Greg my entire life. Like from some of my earliest memories of people calling me Greg. So,
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.